Okay, so I have 3 pretty cool hospital stories that I'm going to tell you guys. And these are just 3 stories that I think are cool and show how cool the hospital is. I'm in a park right now because it's super nice outside, and I did not want to be inside any more of the day. So story number 1 is I get called down to the ER to see this new patient, right? This new guy. We don't really know what's going on with him. Overnight he got admitted because he had hemoglobin that was really, really, really low. So just for knowledge, like the normal man's hemoglobin is like 13.5 to 15.5. This guy's hemoglobin was below 5, so that was really, really, really low. So this guy's hemoglobin was below 5, which is crazy. And he was giving symptoms that they were really low, right? He was like, yeah, I feel really tired. It's hard to walk around. I get short of breath when I walk up and down the steps and stuff like that. So we're talking to him. And the first thing that scares me is that I wanted to think about was like, okay, is this guy having an acute GI bleed, right? Because if he's acutely bleeding from below kind of somewhere, and he could get very sick very quickly, right? Because if he's bleeding and it's a big bleed and his hemoglobin is already like below 5, it was like 4 or something like that, then, you know, if we don't do anything quickly, he could die. Well, luckily, we kind of trended his hemoglobin and he was kind of over 3 or 4 or 5 for a while. And also we gave him a bunch of blood, so we gave him blood and he reacted nicely to it too. Because one thing you want to see is, or they were telling me, is like when you give a patient blood, you want to see if their hemoglobin goes up by like a unit. So we gave him a unit of blood, and his blood went up like one unit, which was pretty good. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of better hang of like when someone's sick and when someone's not so sick. So I was like, okay, I don't need to call down the residents. I don't need to call anyone else down to help me because I think this guy's, you know, he's doing okay. So my thought were, okay, we're going to continue to trend his hemoglobin, and we got to look like through his mouth, like to see what's going on in his upper GI system. And we gotta look down below to see what's like going on in his lower GI system. This guy with the very low hemoglobin had a really classic story, right? So it turns out that he's been having like arthritis symptoms for a long time. When he started taking like NSAIDs, like aspirin and stuff like that, and he was taking that a lot for 2 years. And I think what happens when you take that a lot for 2 years is you can start to get ulcers. And these ulcers will bleed pretty slowly, but they'll still be bleeding. So his hemoglobin kept going lower and lower and lower. But because it was such a chronic thing, he was in no real acute danger. So that was solved there. We kind of just give him something to reduce the acid in his stomach, tell him to not take as many of these kind of NSAIDs and these things that are going to cause the ulcers, and go from there. The next guy, which is another GI bleeder, this guy was, okay, he was a little bit older, maybe I think it was late 50s or something like that. And this was a very confusing case, but showed me like how cool the hospital is. So this guy, we're talking about him. So in the morning, right, you talk about all the new patients and stuff like that. And this guy wasn't my patient. We were talking about, and he was interesting. Similar kind of story. He came in overnight. He had a really, really kind of low hemoglobin. But the scary thing with him is he was also kind of pooping out black, right? Because you want to poop out brown, you don't want to poop out red, and you don't want to poop out black. Because if you poop out black, it signifies maybe there's kind of something upper GI going on. And if you poop out red, it's like maybe something lower GI is going on. Like a lot of blood is coming up from the lower GI system. So we were worried about this guy because it seemed like he had an upper GI bleed and his hemoglobin was dropping and it wasn't being fixed by blood, right? Which is the scary things. So this was kind of scary. So this is what you do then. So the next thing we did is we had to take him kind of into an emergent endoscopy, which is really interesting, right? We kind of took him into the endoscopy lab. They reeled him down there. And then they called us and they're like, listen, students, everyone, you want to come see this emergent endoscopy? What's going on? And I'm like, wait a second, we just get to go see this? And they're like, yeah, you can come see this. I was like, what? So it was awesome. They're like, and I think I want to do GI too, so this was doubly interesting. So they're like, listen, you can come down and see it. Come down and see it. So we went down to this endoscopy lab. This guy is like he's like being put to sleep, right? So they can put a tube down his throat. And they go to look in his stomach, and there's just blood everywhere. Huge amounts of blood everywhere. And there was so much blood actually in this guy's stomach that the GI person doing the endoscopy at the time was like, listen, we need to give this guy some blood right now. So he called to get stat blood, so really quick blood to be given to this guy. So everyone's running around, people are running around, they're like, listen, we gotta get this guy some blood, type and screen him, type and blah, 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 blah. And type and screen is so when you give the person blood, they don't have a reaction to the blood you give them. So everyone's running around, nurses are running around, the doctor's running around, and I'm just kind of standing in the corner, as I always do, try to be in the least way as possible, and I'm looking on this screen at this guy's stomach, and it's just covered in blood, and everyone's just trying to run and get this blood. So the nurses come in, they run the blood, and they're like, wow, we got to figure out what's going on. So the team leader, the person who's in charge of everything, and this is when I was on the liver team, is like, okay, listen, like, I'm really still not sure what's going on. Let's go down and look at what the imaging showed. So this guy had a CT, and the CT kind of was a good kind of image for looking at what was going on, like, in his stomach, to see if there's ulcers, if there's esophageal varices, which they did see on the endoscopy, but they wanted to know, like, is there some kind of bleed going on? Are there gastric varices that you can see here? Are there even lower varices that you can see, but you can see on the CT? So I'm getting lost in the hospital here, and we're like walking around, a team of like 7 or 8 people on this liver team, and she brings us down into the radiology room. And I didn't even know what this room was, and I've seen memes and stuff like that, but I thought like no one was there, but no, there were people there, just all the lights are off. So apparently they keep all the lights off in the radiology room so they can like look at the screens better and stuff like that. In this radiology room, it's very dark. There's 8 of us. We're causing a huge rush. We're getting weird looks by all the radiology people and stuff like that. And they have the craziest amount of monitors that I've ever seen. They've got like 7 monitors. They've got like 2 like standstill like coders do, like 2 big up and down ones on the left side and the right side. And then they've got like 4 huge monitors just that they're just like using. And so this lady who's the radiologist, she's like moving around screens and stuff like that. And she brings up this guy's cross-sectional imaging, and we're kind of scrolling through the stomach and stuff like that, and we see that there's kind of no like gastric varices going on. And we were confused because we were like, where is this blood coming from? There's a lot of blood in the stomach. There's no gastric varices. How do we, like, where is it coming from? The leader of the liver team is talking to the head radiologist, and then she's like, listen, like, we don't really know what's going on, but this is what we see. Clearly there are esophageal varices, but we don't know what's going on in the gastric varices. We went from seeing this guy kind of in his room to him getting taken down to the endoscopy lab to talking to like the radiology team, and like it was awesome to just see kind of the connectedness of like all these different hospital specialties and really everyone coming together to try and figure out what's going on with this guy and eventually like save his life, right? So that was that, and that was just amazing. And later that day we actually found out that this guy probably needs a liver transplant, so he was put on the liver transplant list, and this was something that kind of was talked about later. But yeah, so we went from kind of a GI bleed that nothing was going on to kind of a pretty scary GI bleed. Okay, the third story that I think shows the kind of amazing power of kind of like medicine and different teams and specialties like coming to work together was this lady who needed a pericardiocentesis. So if you don't know what a pericardiocentesis is, it's kind of when they take fluid from around the heart. And I was like, wait a second, this is very scary. Why would you stick a needle into the heart? So in the heart, it's not just the heart is just not just holding blood, right? There's different layers to the heart, and sometimes the layers that are little like part of the layers of the heart get fluid in between them. And if you have too much fluid in between these layers of the heart can't pump right? Because it'll equalize the pressure between the atria and the ventricle, and they need to be at different pressures, and that means you won't be able to pump as much blood out of the heart that you need to, or you won't be able to fill the blood as much as you need to. So this could be from like a pericardial effusion or pericarditis or something like that. Anyway, so this is another lady in the ER, another lady I have to go down and see, and I go see her, and this is the lady I'm scared about, right? So this is the first person I saw, the guy who had the kind of chronic GI bleed, I wasn't too scared about, but this lady I'm scared about, because what's happening with her is she's starting to, when I went down to see her, is she was not able to kind of speak to me as normally, and her mental status was kind of weird. And in my very limited experience in medicine, when someone starts to have like a strange mental status, usually that's my scary point. Usually that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to ask the resident, I'm going to ask someone what's going on, because a change in mental status like that is scary. So there's this thing called Beck's triad, and Beck's triad are kind of the 3 signs, the 3 giveaways that say this is a cardiac tamponade. Cardiac tamponade, as I said earlier, is really dangerous because it means basically the heart isn't going to be able to fill as well, or it's not going to be able to pump enough blood as well, and the person's going to get very sick very quickly. So the 3 signs, the first signs are distant heart sounds. So I went to listen to the chest, and I was like, I can't really hear what's going on. Now that happens to me a lot, is I just can't hear what's going on. But this time, maybe it meant that these were actually distant heart sounds. The next thing is JVD. So JVD is like jugular venous distension. So if you turn someone's head to a certain side and you look at the veins on their neck, they should stay popped out and stay popped out for longer than normal and higher than normal on other people. The third thing is hypotension, and she was pretty hypotensive. She was in the 90s over 60s or 50s, which is pretty low. So I was like, okay, great, this is it. This is the thing. This is Beck's Triad. This is the thing I can bring the attending. But honestly, before I even did all this, I called my resident and I was like, listen, can you come down and see this lady? Because I was scared for her. Like, I think her breathing was getting difficult. She seemed in distress. And also her mental status was kind of deteriorating. And for me, those are the scary things that go on. So they come down to see her. The resident, he's like immediately like, oh, something bad is going on. So we call the cardio team. So the cool thing in the hospital is like, we don't have to do all this different heart stuff. Like, we probably could do some of this heart stuff. Well, especially not me. I couldn't do anything. But the residents probably could do some of this heart stuff. But we have whole teams in the hospital dedicated to this, right? We call the cardio team. And we're like, hey, guys, listen. We think this lady is really, really sick. Can you guys come take a look at her? And the cardio team comes down, and the lady from the cardio team is like, yeah, she's really sick. We're going to need to do pericardiocentesis. And we're like, okay, great. We're going to like help this lady. And so they stick, I didn't get to see this, unfortunately, but they stick a needle kind of into the layers of the heart and pull the fluid out of the heart. And they got around 400 milliliters of fluid, which is a crazy amount of fluid from around the heart. And as soon as this fluid was taken off this lady, her breathing improved, her mental status improved, and she was just better. And it's crazy because if there was no cardio team to work with us, like, we'd have to either figure out a way to drain this needle off, or this lady would just eventually decompensate and probably die. And having these teams together, you kind of have the comfort to be like, listen, like, I want you to come in and do this, I want you to come and do this. I mean, in the 3 stories I talked about, there was the radiology team that were consulted. There was the liver team that was consulted. There was the heart team that was consulted. I didn't mention it, but there was like interventional radiology that was consulted, and they kind of are special people that are really good at sticking things in places of the body and taking stuff out of the body, like fluids and taps and effusions and things like that. But yeah, those are just 3 stories that I think are pretty cool and show kind of how cool the hospital is and like the amazing things that the teams can do to come together. Now, I see tons of things in the hospital, and there really are crazy stories, but if I started to get into those stories, this video would be way too long. So what I did is I made a complete other video about like the craziest things that I've seen in the hospital. And I put that video exclusively on Nebula. And on Nebula, I put all my regular YouTube videos, but I put them up early and I put them up ad-free. Nebula is also where I put up this extra content, like for example, this extra video you can only see on Nebula. And then he's like, just use the other hand and grab anything you can grab a hold of. I'm like, what? The arm, the leg? He's like, just grab any part of the baby. And I was like, freaking out. Now, if you want to watch this video and kind of other content that I only have on Nebula, the best way to do that is to sign up through CuriosityStream. CuriosityStream is nicely sponsoring this video, and you can sign up to see this extra content by going to curiositystream.com/Zach. When you sign up using this special link, you'll get access to my certain exclusive content, which is my craziest hospital stories video, which I talked about, and a couple other exclusive things. But using this special link, you'll also get access to CuriosityStream. CuriosityStream is the world's leading documentary streaming platform with thousands of high-budget, high-quality documentaries. So you get access to 2 high-quality streaming platforms for the price of one. CuriosityStream has an enormous catalog of documentaries and shows, including one interesting one I just saw, which was about this guy named Dr. Hillman and about all of his scientific discoveries and inventions, which have easily saved like millions of lives. It's pretty cool to see what he did to kind of invent these medical innovations. So all of this, CuriosityStream and Nebula bundled together, comes at a fantastic price with the bundled deal at $14.79 a year, which is just $1.23 a month. I genuinely think this is a great deal. So click this button or head to curiositystream.com/Zach. But if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy these stories, and I will see you on the next one.